What is going on YouTube? Today, I want to talk to you about building this tree. My name's Andy, this is Cedar River Woodworking, and welcome to the shop. Alrighty, if you want to make a pallet wood tree, but you don't have any pallets, or you can't find a 6-foot tall pallet to make a 6-foot tall pallet tree, here is the video for you. So what I have here is a pallet inspired Christmas tree and one of my stars that I have on top. This specifically is a star that I can use any saw for that goes up to 45 degrees. Now if you have a saw that goes higher than that to 54 degrees, I do have another video for that one as well. But so we have a 45 degree star here, and I will have a video linked for that. But I just want to thank all of my YouTube members that are with me up to this point. They really help out with this channel, and they will help out with future giveaways. There is actually one that should be coming up very soon after the holidays. So we have also opened an Etsy store, and we have plans over there right now, and we are currently trying to build the inventory on that. But if you would like to support the channel, or you like plans in the hands, please consider going over there and buying a set of plans. Anyways, let's jump in and I will show you exactly how we build this tree. Alrighty, so this project we are going to do over here on our miter station. What you're gonna need is 2 fence pickets and a 2x4. So our 2x4 is gonna be a little bit over 8 feet. So if you have some scrap 2x4 laying around, you can use some of that, but it might be best if you get a 10-foot 2x4. Now, a 2x4, remember, is actually 1.5 inches by 3.5, and our fence pickets are going to be 5.5 inches wide by 5/8 of an inch thick. So we are going to start off, and we're going to cut down our 2x4 to 64 inches. Set that off to the side, and then we're going to cut the remaining piece into 2 12-inch pieces. Now here's where the scrap is going to come in. Now I still need 2 more 12-inch pieces. So if you have the 10-foot 2x4, that's where this is going to help. All right, so we are going to have 4 pieces that look like this. These are going to get assembled as our feet. Now I want to have a little bit more decoration to it, so I'm going to cut a 45-degree bevel or chamfer on the end here. I'm just going to cut it about halfway down, which is 1 3/4 inches. So I'm going to mark out 1 3/4 inches and then cut this off here. So I'm going to need to set my saw at 45 degrees for this. Mark out to 1 3/4 inches. And make our cut. Now I'm going to use this piece to mark out the rest of these feet here. So here is what that's going to look like as a finished product. Alrighty, now we are going to cut up our fence pickets. Remember, these are 5.5 inches wide by 5/8 of an inch thick. Our first cut, after we set our saw back to 0 or 90 degrees, whatever your preference is to call it, I'm going to cut the end off of my board here. I just think it looks cleaner. And then you know you have a square end. So after I cut that off, I'm going to cut my first piece to 36 inches. For our next piece, we're going to cut that at 31 inches. You will have a small piece of scrap left over. Alrighty, now with our second piece of fence picket, we will cut off the end here, make sure it's square. Then we are going to cut our next piece at 25 inches. So our next piece is going to be cut at 19 inches. Alrighty, now if you made it this far, I just want to say thank you to everybody. I appreciate your support, and please consider subscribing if you are enjoying the video. Our next cut is going to be at 14 inches. Then finally, our last cut is going to be 8 inches. So that should be all of our pieces cut out. Now let's get to assembling this tree. Alrighty, so here we are at the bench and we are going to assemble this tree. So I have all my parts laid out and I have my brad nailer. So how to start this, I'm going to measure up 10 inches from the bottom here. And my longest piece, that is 36 inches long, I'm going to put at the very bottom here. I do have some scrap 2x material to balance everything out and get it to lay out correctly. I did grab a square to make sure that we are square on the trunk here, and then I'm going to measure half of this. So this is 36 inches. I'm going to center that on this trunk board. So center of that is 18 inches. And I am square. And then I'm going to nail this in place. Now that we have that square, it's going to be fairly easy to get everything from there. I'm going to take a 2x and I'm going to space the next piece, which was a 31-inch piece. And since I'm referencing off the top of this bottom one, I know that everything is going to be square all the way up. So this is a 2x4, so it's going to be 3.5-inch spacing between the bottom piece, the next piece, and so on. So 31 inches. Half of that is 15.5, and I'm going to center that on the board there, nail it in place. And we're going to go ahead and move up to the next piece here. This one is 25 inches. Half of 25 is 12.5. Center that up. Push it against the board there. Had a little knot hanging out there, so that's why I flipped the board. All right, nail it in place. Now in my brad nailer, I am using 1-inch brad nails. I do really like the electric nailers, but if you have a pneumatic nailer, that is perfectly okay too. I'm going to space the next one up that same way. our next piece here. I'm gonna put it in place. As a reminder, this is 19 inches. So we're gonna go at 9.5 to get center there and nail it in place. We've got 2 more boards here. The second to top is 14 inches, so center is going to be 7. Nail it in place. And then our last piece is 8 inches. Now I can hear some of you over there saying, Andy, this doesn't quite look like the tree that I saw in the thumbnail. You're right, we do need to shape this a little bit, and I'll show you exactly how I'm going to do that. Now, as a reminder, the last one was 8 inches, and the center is going to be at 4. Alrighty, so to shape this tree, I'm going to use a straight edge and a circular saw. Now, my circular saw does have a 5-inch offset to it, so that is the offset from the outside edge that I'm going to be using as a guide to the edge of the blade. So I need to offset this straight edge 5 inches from a line that I established here. And how I did that was I just laid the straight edge across so that I included as much material so that I can cut and shape this. Now this straight edge, I will have a link in the description if you are looking for one, if you don't already have one. So I'm going to measure 5 inches over on here and clamp it in place. Now I should be able to pivot this wherever I need it to, so I can get my 5 inches here as well. And that will keep it so that I have 5 inches on this end here. Now I did have an issue with this at one point in time where my circular saw went underneath this straight edge. So I'm actually going to clamp it here in the center just so there's not any give and go underneath of it. And here we're going to clamp that in. And we are going to make this cut. Remember, do not try to catch any of these pieces. There's a spinning blade that sticks out the bottom. We don't want you to cut up your fingers. I'm also going to adjust this up a little bit so it's only cutting through the material, because if I go any farther down, I will cut into the tabletop or the bench top, and we don't want any extra scars on this bench top. All right, that is one side cut. If you do have a track saw, that'll make this job a lot easier. So you can just lay it right on that line, cut all the way down it, and you'll be good to go. I'm going to cut the other side off camera, and then I'll show you how we assemble the feet onto the bottom of this tree. Alrighty, so now that we have the tree shaped to how we want it, we need to put some feet on here. This is where our 12-inch pieces with the angle cut on the end of them come into play. I'm going to assemble these and just go around here. I'll show you exactly how I do that. So I'm going to take that, and since this will be outside, I'm going to use some exterior grade screws. So these are 2.5-inch deck screws, and I'm going to pre-drill and then put those screws in there. So I'm just going to line up my first foot here, pre-drill, drive that screw in here and check for squareness. Now I'm going to install 2 more screws. So 3 screws total. Now when you're putting these feet on, make sure that that bevel or chamfer goes up the tree. And then I will also be lining up with the bottom of the trunk. So, same process, put a screw in. Whoopsies. There we go. And I'm going to square that. Now we're going to square this because if all of the feet aren't touching the ground, it can get kind of wobbly and weird. So just make sure that everything's square that way. I'm also pre-drilling and countersinking these holes because it's going to give it a chance so that the wood doesn't split out on you. So here is going to be the 3rd foot for us. Now that's going to be perpendicular to the other ones. So as you can see, this is where we're looking at. Now this particular one, I'm not going to need to square up. The end cut on here is square, and it's going to be against the face of one of the other feet. Then finally, we are going to flip it once again. With this flipped, we're going to put our last foot on here. Remember, pre-drill and put in the screws. And finally, to top everything off, I will be installing a star. So this is my star with 45-degree angle cuts. So if your saw maxes out at 45-degree angles, this is the star that you're going to use. Go ahead and check out this video if that's what you want. But if your saw goes past that to 54 degrees, I will also have another video linked for that as well. So how this is just going to get attached, it's the same way that these feet are, pre-drilled and screwed into place. And I'm going to do that from the back here. So I'm just going to slide the star down into place here. Make sure it's centered. I'm just going to use 2 screws for this one. And there we have a finished tree. Did you like this tree? If so, let me know down in the comments section below if you would put a 45-degree star on it or you want to put a 55-degree star on this. If you have any questions, please include that first so that I know that you made it to this point in the video. Anyways, if you like this, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, all of those things. Anyways, for now, my name has been Andy. This has been Cedar River Woodworking, and we'll see you in the next video.